In the top stories, with $600 million spent on education last year, the minister in charge says the sector is being shortchanged. The Minister of Health says no national growth without a healthy population. And we've got netball, basketball, and football coming up. Welcome to this edition of Nation News on Monday, May 12, 2014. I'm Natasha Beckles. More than $600 million was plugged into education in the last year, but Minister responsible Ronald Jones is saying the sector is being shortchanged. Jones, who delivered the feature address at the Education for All Stakeholders Forum this morning, says there are still some unresolved issues in the delivery of education. He says students are still leaving secondary school with between 5 and 7 years of education without being able to write a single CXC exam. However, he gave high praises to the island's first offshore medical school, the American University of Barbados, after it officially opened new campus facilities in Silver Sands, Christchurch.
You will get more persons from across the world coming to this institution because you have planted the right seeds. You've demonstrated to the world your capacity to be in its initial stages a school for the quality provision of medical education.
Minister of Health John Boyce, during an address at the opening, leveled his belief that without a healthy population, the island will find great difficulty.
In Barbados, a country where our only natural resource is our human resource, it is critical to the development and sustainability of our economy to ensure that our people remain productive. That can only be attained if they remain healthy.
The trade union, which represents employers, says it will not support the proposed extension of Protocol 6 of the Social Partnership because of government's handling of its ongoing retrenchment exercise. President of the Barbados Employers Confederation, Ian Goodin-Edgell, says the council of the organization made the decision at a meeting on April 14th. He said the decision was based on what he called government's blatant disregard of the provisions for consultation enshrined in Protocol 6. He also noted that repeated requests for meetings to discuss government's redundancy programs had been met with silence. Mr. Goodin-Edgell was speaking today during the launch of the BEC's week of activities. Mother's Day has come and gone, but many moms are still on a high from the royal treatment they received on their big day. It seems one of the most popular Mother's Day pastimes was to wine and dine at restaurants around the island. Many were booked to capacity, with some, including the Radisson Aquatica Resort, reporting that over 200 diners came out specifically for Mother's Day. 35 young men and women between the ages of 17 and 35 have embarked on an 8-day farming course called the Youth in Agriculture Program. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Esworth Reed, told the participants that there was still a grave concern that young people do not understand how important agriculture is to their very survival.
It is the duty of the ministry responsible for agriculture, the ministry responsible for education through the school system, as well as clubs like, say, the 4-H and programs like this, to teach our young people the importance of agriculture, the importance of food security, and the importance of business. Our youth need to understand the importance of the land and of agriculture. It is for their development. They must be made to adopt an attitude to see working in agriculture as working in a business, just as would be the case in tourism or some other service industry.
Two political rivals joined forces on Sunday evening, along with over 100 Bridgetown residents, on a march against violence. MP Colonel Jeffrey Bostic and Patrick Todd both put their differences aside to take a stand that was primarily driven by the shooting death of city barman Charlie Doom late last month. Chelsea, here we come. The Barbados Horticultural Society is doing the final preparations for this year's Chelsea Flower Show in England. When a nation team visited today, members were busy cleaning the flowers. They will be inspected by the Ministry of Agriculture before they are packed for the trip. Jenny Weech will lead a team of 9 to this year's show. Barbados won a silver gilt last year. In sport, we bring you up to date on some of the weekend's action. We start with football in the KFC Knockout Cup on Sunday night when the hapless Cosmos suffered a 7-0 drubbing from Wales to crash out of the competition, thanks to Carl Joseph, who led Wales with a beaver trick. Defending champions Rendezvous were booted out of the competition by UWI when the game went to penalties after scores were locked at 2-2. However, at the end of regulation and extra time, UWI scored the win 4-1 on penalties. League champions BDF also survived a penalty shootout to reach the fourth round, after having been tied 1-1 at the end of regulation and 2-2 at the end of extra time. BDF edged Gall Hill 13-12 in the marathon shootout. In netball, knockout queens Pine Hill St. Barnabas stayed on course for a double when they beat UWI Blackbirds 50-41, avenging their first round loss. St. Barnabas pulled away in the third quarter, outscoring Blackbirds 15-7 to blow open what had been a close game. On to basketball, where Smalta Pineland showed their first-round victory over defending champions Lumber Company LSC was no fluke with a 74-64 win. Pinelands can seal the top spot in the postseason tonight with a win over Cougars, who would most likely be their first-round opponents. They would also avoid the resurgent Cavs in the first round. And finally, there's been a series of car break-ins recently in a New Hampshire, United States town, and the suspect description is always the same: black and furry. That's right. Wildlife officials believe a hungry bear is to blame. One resident said the radio was pulled out of her vehicle's dashboard while the interior was ripped apart and a window was smashed. Police say it's a common occurrence this time of year as bears stop hibernating and search for food. And that's Nation News for today.